Hi, Dr. Yass here. In this video, I want to talk about a mindset that I think would be helpful for the hundreds of millions of people who are suffering with chronic pain and have become disillusioned, hopeless, and unfortunately, maybe even considering suicide. It is the phrase that states that hope springs eternal. It's a very, very important phrase, and I think it speaks to the best that exists in people. Hope springs eternal implies that there's always a chance, if you make it to the next day, that something positive can develop, that tomorrow can be better than today. There's always that chance. There's always that hope. That's what hope springs eternal means. And I think for those of you, and I don't think most of you understand that you're not alone in your situation. I do these Skype and Zoom sessions with people, and they seem to give me the impression that they feel very isolated, that they're the only person who has suffered with chronic pain for a sustained period of time. They're the only person that has invested huge amounts of effort into seeking various types of practitioners, trying innumerable number of treatments, being stuck on medications, or being told that they're simply going to have to live with their pain forever. You have to understand the numbers state the case. 130 million Americans and roughly 1 billion people globally suffering from chronic pain. This is clearly a global epidemic, and it is perpetuated by the global medical system and its false use of MRIs. We know that. It's irrefutable. Any attempt to try to get a diagnosis by use of MRI uses correlative theory, which is known as junk science, and it simply leads to the false diagnosis, the false tissue being identified and treated, which is why chronic pain exists. You must recognize that right above my head, chronic pain is the result of misdiagnosis. It is the only reason that chronic pain can exist, right? If you get the right tissue in the initial stage of diagnostics and the distress of that tissue is resolved, there's no need for the tissue to elicit symptom any further, and pain is resolved in the acute stage. The only reason that you would have a chronic stage is because you've treated the wrong tissue, because you've diagnosed the wrong tissue. And in 98 to 99% of cases, the cause is muscular. Muscular causes don't show up on diagnostic tests. There's nobody in the medical system educated or trained to identify these, and that's why chronic pain exists. You're in the wrong genre completely if you're seeking care from the medical system to address your pain. That's what makes the Yass Method so unique. This is outside the medical system. This is an understanding that says the MRI is baseless. Physical presentation of symptoms is more apt to be able to tell you what tissue is in distress, eliciting those very symptoms. There's your connection. The connection between the tissue in distress and the symptoms being created by that tissue in distress to create awareness of the distress of the tissue so the right intervention can be performed and that distress resolved, at which time the tissue no longer needs to elicit the emergency distress signal of pain or other symptom. That's the whole idea here. You're trying to connect the tissue and the symptom, resolve the distress of the tissue, and the symptom no longer has to be elicited. So if you can wrap your head around the idea that it's not your fault that you're still in pain. I know people have tried to convince you it's in your head, or they might say you're not trying hard enough, or you haven't done what you're supposed to. But that's all nonsense. It's all nonsense because there's a systemic problem in trying to identify the tissue in distress. And people get pigeonholed. I mentioned in a recently prior video about a guy who was told by 3 orthopedists that he needed a hip replacement to resolve his pain, even though he had full range of motion of the joint, even though the symptoms had nothing to do with the hip region. And because of that, he had convinced himself that that was his only choice. There was specific reasons he would not get it. So he now believes in his mind the only choice he has to resolve his pain is something he can't do, and therefore he simply has to live in pain, which progressively worsens and destroys his life. If that sounds like something that's happened to you, that's not surprising. You don't get to roughly 1 billion people globally suffering with chronic pain unless there's some kind of systemic issue, some commonality in the way everyone is trying to be addressed. And it is basically that the MRI is baseless. The medical establishment is unwilling to walk away from the idea that that's the way to go in diagnosing the cause of pain. And that's why everyone's suffering. So hope springs eternal, I would like people to think about as not being so much a passive mindset. Hope springs eternal, in my mind, doesn't mean just wait there in your misery and depression and just think that somehow something is going to come upon you to change your situation. I would rather think of hope springs eternal as almost a call to action, that you haven't checked every possible thing that might be available to you to help resolve the cause of your pain. And the hope that's described is in the idea that there is something out there and you're hoping to find it. That's the way I would love people to think about that phrase, hope springs eternal. It's a call to action. Don't give up. Don't become hopeless. Don't become depressed. Don't believe that tomorrow has to be like today or yesterday, because hope springs eternal. I just thought I would like to address the emotional aspects of pain in a separate video, because with all the experience I've had over these 28 years, I feel that the pain that initially begins and is sustained eventually changes the emotional state of the individual. And I feel that that has to be addressed just as much as the pain. If the person begins to believe that maybe there's a chance that things can change, they will now proactively go out and find those things. But if they feel that this is it, that they're stuck, then nothing can be done, and there's really no reason to wake up the next morning. And it's a very scary place to be, and I don't want anyone to be like that. Just believe there's something outside of what you've been told. I'm not asking you to follow the Yass Method because I'm telling you to. I'm saying investigate it. Look at all the YouTube videos I have on my YouTube channel, Dr. Mitchell Yass. Go to my website, www.mitchellyass.com. It's all free content. I have books out, videos, blogs. It's all there. And a lot of what I present is the theoretical basis by which the Yass Method has separated itself from the existing system. Why the existing medical model is a failure, baseless, has no bearing on the ability to identify the tissue in distress. Once you can see that this is different and that it is so entrenched in logic and has almost 3 decades of experience, you might even get a little excited that maybe this is the path. And then seek the method out. If you have a question, you think this might be right for you, contact me. Doesn't cost anything. You contact me at my email address, drmitch@mitchellyass.com, drmitch at mitchellyass.com, and I'll answer any question. If you think this makes enough sense the way you want to become proactive, and actually want to set up for a session, a Skype or Zoom session, so we could evaluate you, and if confirmed to be muscular, show you the exercises to do to resolve your pain and get you back to full function and give you your tomorrow back, contact me by email, drmitch at mitchellyass.com, DRMITCH and MITCHLLYASS.com. That's what this video is really all about. It's about trying to get you away from the mindset which has now got you entrenched in a sense of hopelessness, depression, a sense there is not going to be a happy tomorrow. I want people to understand the medical system will say pain and emotion are connected. That is a joke. There simply is no neurological pathway between the centers of the brain that experience pain and the centers that attach to emotion. That's a fallacy. What does lead to depression and hopelessness is the inability to resolve the pain. That's the big thing you want to understand. It's not eliciting pain. I can pinch you and you will not have a nervous breakdown. But if I say on the hour, every hour for the next 10 years, I am going to pinch you, you will freak out. You will have massive depression and a sense, when is this ever going to end? That's why you're in the situation you're in. It's not your pain. It's the sense that tomorrow, I pretty much know I'm going to have the same situation and how that pain affects my ability to function, have relationships, everything that makes life so wonderful. Okay? So, believe in the idea that hope springs eternal. Believe it as a means of being proactive, taking action. And let's work together to help you get out of that pain or whatever other symptom you're having. And let's help you return to a normal functional level and allow you to relish in the days ahead, in your tomorrows. Have fun, experience love, joy, wonderment. All the things that are available in life can be experienced deeply once you don't have to believe that pain will always be there. All right? If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you like my YouTube channel, Dr. Mitchell Yass, please subscribe to get notifications when new videos are added or when I'm live on YouTube. All right? I hope this helps you. For now, this is Dr. Mitchell Yass wishing you a pain-free, fully functional life. Bye-bye for now.